Oh, we're still not live? Oh, no, we're live. We're live. All right, we're live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub, coming us live from Tennessee, if I'm right.
That's right, Nashville. We're at the Electrek Formula Sun event, and we just left the Adventure Museum where all the cars are being displayed. If you're around the Nashville area, please go check it out. It's the Adventure Museum in Nashville. We'll be there till 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Super. So, we've been sponsoring this event for a while now, and the first part of the event happened this week, the on-track race, if you will. And then we have the cross-country race that is starting this weekend. So Seth's going to be able to tell us what happened this week on the track and give us a little bit preview what is going to happen throughout the next week. And then we have plenty of other news to discuss. We have, Trump commenting a lot on EVs this week through as he's now become the official candidate. And then his VP pick also has a lot to say about EVs. So that's going to be interesting to dive into that. And then we have the CEO of the largest electric automaker in the world that's backed Trump. So we're going to also dive into that fun stuff. Then we have a couple other interesting news to discuss, including Lucid achieving new record efficiency on the air, the giant Tesla Megapack order, and more. So stay tuned throughout the show to get all of that interesting news. And this show is interactive, everyone. If you want to, it's live and interactive. So if you want to comment, you can comment in the comment section on whatever app you are live. And we're going to get into your comments at the second half of the show. It can be about any of the topics that we discussed today, whether, live commentating from when we discuss it, or you can go through the notes of the show to get what we're going to discuss today and comment on that or any other topic in the EV world that you want us to get into. All right, but we'll start with the Formula Sun, the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix. So the final results came in, and I hear that our home teams in Quebec have done pretty good this year. Am I right?
Yeah, two. I think they're both in Montreal. I don't know how far. I know Montreal Polytechnic is obviously in Montreal, but what is it? ESD, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's a technical. Say that's the engineering school in Montreal too. Yeah.
Yeah. So they won the single passenger event, and then Polytechnic won the multiple passenger event. I don't know what's in the water over there. It's in the solar panels, but both teams did really well. Yeah. I guess they're used to not having a lot of sun. Maybe that's
so we know how to optimize it. Yeah.
Right. So the event is in Bowling Green, Kentucky, at the Corvette Museum, which it doesn't seem like a friendly venue, but people there were super nice and super helpful, and they had a great event. And it's interesting. There's like a bunch of EV chargers that Electrify America has a big installation there. I was like, why are Corvette owners? Anyway, maybe there's a electric Corvette coming. We get a look at the E-Ray, which is a mild hybrid and kind of pointless, but moving on. The event itself for the last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was all racing days. You have 3 days to race. You have to, over a period, 2 consecutive days, go 98 laps, which is a little over 300 miles, or in one day get about 60 laps. And I think about 8 teams were able to finish out of the original 44. And then I think the ones that actually got on the track were around in the 30s, I think. So a lot of teams from all over North America. We're, hoping in the future maybe we'll get some from overseas. And we're also playing around with the idea of maybe having some pro teams come on, so that this would be like a club team. We're, just kind of brainstorming like how is this going to evolve. This was the biggest year ever. Obviously we've been hyping it hard here. Bridgestone jumped on board. They've been hyping it pretty hard as well. And just a fantastic event. It rained a lot on Wednesday, so it changes the strategy quite a bit. So these cars, they can actually, we think about Aptera a lot with the solar panels and the very efficient design, but that thing will only go 40 miles on sun, only, which is, in quotation marks. That's a lot, but these things go hundreds of miles just using the sun. So that's pretty cool. In addition to that, what's starting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. from the Adventure Museum in Nashville is the cross country race. So I think it makes 6 stops, 6 nights from here to Wyoming. So quite across most of the country. Each night, the people camp, or the stop, and then obviously when the sun's out again, they start racing again. So lots of opportunities to view the cars along the way. If you're anywhere in the Midwest, there's probably a stop or a route near you. And it's just been so exciting. It's the best part is like seeing all the teams fix the problems. There's teamwork, not just amongst the teams themselves, but if Stanford had a problem with their brakes this year, and Appalachian State was super helpful, and they were staying up all night to try to fix these things. So it's really great, not just the camaraderie on the teams, but between the teams. Obviously, you don't want to help your foes too much, but it's certainly helpful. And then last night they had the awards presentation, and that was super cool, and everybody was kind of rooting for everybody else, and it was just a great scene. So again, if you are in the Nashville area, come check us out. And if you're somewhere in the Midwest, go check out the route, see if there's a stop near you or a route near you, and maybe go check out the cars. But great event. Can't wait to do it next year as well.
Yeah, kind of want to know this. Again, I'm not bragging. Like I have no role in this at all. It's just my own team. But in the multi-passenger category, the Polytechnique Montréal, they didn't just come first. They come first with a score as 50 points over the next best. That's insane. They have fewer laps than the second best, though. Do you know how that works?
Yep. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the formula. It's like, how heavy are the riders? How much do they start the charge of the vehicle with? It's a really complex formula, and that plays into the strategy. I think the App State car, it's an older car. It's not quite as aerodynamic. So they had to charge the vehicle a little bit more before the race. So, and then also the final points are, I believe, on a 2-day, like the best 2 days, not the best 3 days. So it's possible that App State had a good, all 3 days did pretty good, but the two, like Montreal probably
Polytechnique could have like a very bad first day and then to blow it out the last 2 days.
If I recall correctly, I don't know if they even raced on the first day. I think they might have.
Yeah, I saw that. I was following you guys, and I saw that a bunch of people didn't race the first day. They just went.
That's right. Yeah. It's strategy some people use to, they put all their wood behind 2 days of arrows.
But now you can check out the website too, and then because the second part is actually the cross country, to show that this is not just like driving around in circle in the lab, but to do actually real world driving on it. You can follow along the Electrek American Solar Challenge. So cool. All right, moving on. All right, let's talk about Trump a little bit, because yesterday was the RNC. He became the official Republican candidate, as if there was any chance that, last Saturday the candidate was a chance that it was not going to be him, but fortunately he was fine. Yeah. There's a lot of at play here. We're gonna try to look. We don't like to get too political at Electrek. We focus on politics that affect specifically the transition to electric vehicles and sustainable energy. Tesla's mission. So why we've talked a lot more about it lately is because right after this assassination attempt on Saturday. Well, last week, let's go back a little bit further. Last week on the podcast, we discussed that Elon reportedly pledged money to elect Trump and the GOP, like Republican candidate, through a PAC. Then we noted that this is going to be confirmed on the 15th. that Elon did that. We didn't have to wait that long because on the 13th, fortunately, someone tried to assassinate Trump. And then right after, Elon decided to use that opportunity to fully endorse Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. Right after, along with a lot of other journalists, asked Elon the question, so what does that mean, fully endorsed? Like, why are you endorsing him? Can you explain it? And I've been following his tweet closely since he fully endorsed him, because obviously getting shot at and surviving is not really a reason to fully endorse someone. A lot of people have been announcing for him since the assassination attempt. I just don't get it. So my question is, how does Elon's politics align with Donald Trump, specifically in the context of Tesla's mission to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy? Now, I understand that my question is a little bit dumb, because if you go a little bit macro on this, you understand that it probably has nothing to do with it. I think Elon's other politics are aligning with Trump's at the social level, and he thinks that's more important, I guess, than that. There's other theories out there too. The theories of Elon siding with Trump because he thinks he's gonna win, and then of course financing him so he wins, because he wants a pardon at some point, or things like that, or he has other asks. Money in politics is a weird thing. People don't give millions of dollars to someone and don't expect anything in return. That's pretty rare. But yeah, Elon has not really declared exactly why he's fully endorsing him, other than he wants freedom and freedom of speech. He wants to protect the kids. That's his whole thing with the laws in California, even though he has a very unique interpretation of this specific new law in California to prevent schools from outing trans kids. He thinks that they're going to take your kids from that law, but that's another thing. So yeah, we have this whole situation. Now we're trying to understand why the CEO of Tesla, whose mission is to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy, is backing Trump. Now, there was, like I said, the report that he's giving $45 million a month to a special PAC to elect Trump and GOP candidate. Elon denied that, saying that it's fake news. But in news, JNU. So this, so he said it's not true, but honestly, yeah. Then later he admitted that he did create the PAC along with other, billionaires and Silicon Valley investors and whatnot. He just basically said, this is not the amount that I'm contributing to it. So literally, it could be 44 million a month, and he could call it fake news. That's
right.
Has been his MO when denying news these days. So really, what I'm seeing right now, I'm trying to. I find the whole thing fascinating, especially as an outsider to the US. But Elon has had a lot of backers over the years, people that we've come to call Elon cultists as of late, because of the cult of personality around him. And these people are, for the most part, being progressive. They like progressive technology. They like progressive ideas. They want this transition to sustainable energy. Not that I'm saying that they're not conservative people that are pro accelerating the advent of sustainable energy. They are, but obviously they are more on the progressive side of things. Nonetheless, these people are now, you see them kind of stuck in between Elon and Trump. Now they are all right, I'm pro Elon, but I don't know how to think about this Trump idea. And then I love it, because that's when you see if they have offloaded their critical thinking to Elon or not. Because if they go, all right, if Elon is on it, I'm on it. Okay, now you've given up. You have completely offloaded your critical thinking. Because I keep asking, and if in the comment section right now you want to get into it, please do. I keep asking for, is there a path to Trump being good for the mission? And I cannot see it. I cannot see a path for that, because what I'm hearing a lot from these ultra, Tesla all in and Elon cultists is that Elon is gonna, push the agenda with the administration. The thing is that we've seen that last time that Trump got elected, Elon got closer to Trump. Elon got on Trump's business council. Elon tried to push this agenda of like carbon tax and electric vehicles, renewable energy, and then Trump got the U.S. off the Paris Agreement, and then Elon backed off. I was like, there's no reasoning with this guy. He set the U.S. back years by getting out of the Paris Agreement. So now somehow you think that this is going to be different this time. I just don't see it personally. Do you see a path, like if you play devil's advocate here, Seth? I know you probably don't, but like
Yeah. So I don't see Tesla's mission. I don't see that. What may make sense, though, if you are a Tesla shareholder, is that Trump will kneecap the whole EV industry, including Tesla, but that will make Tesla more competitive against other EVs. JD Vance we'll talk about later, but he wants to switch, give gas cars a tax credit. So I mean, there's no way that that's helpful for Tesla or the mission.
Yeah, that's
obviously
a step too far for it. But I think you have a good point. You're right. If you play devil's advocate, there's a market, which we've seen that market before, where no one has incentive, and Tesla is going to be more competitive against electric vehicles, but not more competitive against gas vehicle, which is the goal. Right. So this brings me back to the mission again. So you're right to say like this, and I hear this argument from Tesla fans and Elon cultists, and they're right. However, that's not pro-mission. That's just pro-Tesla. And Tesla's mission is to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles. If you remove the incentive in the U.S., and if, like, I doubt this is going to happen. Like, I don't even know how Republicans can back this. But if they do go through with it, it's on the table already. The Drive America Act that you reference, introduced by JD Vance, was Trump's, I said Elon's pick, which is would be true too, because Elon fully endorsed Vance too. Apparently, him and other Silicon Valley investors suggested Vance to Trump. If that happened, it would make Tesla more competitive, maybe against EVs, not against gasoline cars, and it would probably crash the sales of other EV makers, reducing overall sales for electric vehicles, fewer gasoline vehicles being replaced by electric vehicles, which goes completely against Tesla's mission. So when I say bad for Tesla, I mean bad for Tesla's mission. I think that's the most important thing. The way I see it, I think Elon is forgetting about the Tesla mission. He might not be forgetting about the Tesla stock. For those of you that's what you care about, that's fine. If you just care about the stock, if you just care about the money, maybe there's a scenario in which Tesla comes on top in terms of the stock. At Electrek, what we care about is the Tesla mission, okay? And the stock doing well can contribute positively for the mission. But if it does well, at the detriment of other EV makers and the EV market in general, then no, mission failed. The mission is failed. So for a while, Tesla has advocated like for things for incentive. Like Elon can keep saying like no incentive for anyone. Sure, but in the background, Tesla's policy team has been advocating for incentive. So like, which one is it? Why we have the CEO of the company and the internal people of the company combating this? So it's weird. But if we stick to the facts now and it's so hard to get Trump's actual views on electric vehicles. I don't think he really have strong opinions on electric vehicles. I think he's going to say anything he's going to say to get elected and, to get his base motivated to vote and all that. I'm not blind to this at all. But at the end of the day, we need to listen. We need to see like what's going to happen. So Trump had his speech yesterday, and during his speech, he did mention electric vehicle. He said that on the first day, he's going to eliminate the EV mandate. First of all, there's not a real, as Jamie pointed out in his article today, and I recommend you go read it. Like Jamie is well versed in politics, and especially in electric vehicle politics. So he's worth reading. It's just, if you're a conservative person, it might be irritable to read him because he's, a staunch progressive and everything. But the thing with Jamie is like, he's rarely wrong. So even though the tone can be, aggressive at times, you have to focus on the facts. The dude has his facts right, and give Jamie that. Except for Adrian Dittman, we have a disagreement on that. But anyway, so what Trump says that on day one is going to eliminate the mandate, but there's not a real mandate. There's the EPA having punitive, enforcement on to push for 50% of vehicles to be electric in the U.S. by is it 2030, 2032. Jamie has it somewhere in there. It's just deep. Well, Jamie's on the chat right now, so you could tell us. So that's what it's going to eliminate. But I'm not even sure that's what he meant when he said that. He probably meant he's going to eliminate all the incentives for electric vehicles and all the punitive regulation for legacy automakers to force them to produce electric vehicles. So that's what's going to happen. And what's going to result that it's going to be fewer EV cells, because you're going to have these legacy automakers that are not fully bought into EVs, which is, most of them, unfortunately. People that are losing money on these EVs, they're going to make the right choice for their shareholders because they don't have Tesla's mission to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles. So everyone that's losing money on them and only making money when you take into account those credit that they get from off of their fossil fuel cells, to counterbalance the fossil fuel cells, they'll give up on that. So that's bad, but not just bad for Tesla, bad for the mission too. And the actual tax credit to make electric vehicles more affordable for the consumers are also going to go away. And then, if you believe what we learned on Monday, is that Trump has decided to go with JD Vance, and JD Vance, has introduced last November a new Drive American Act, which removed the tax credit and then, no joke, replace it with the same amount tax credit, $7,500, for American-made fossil fuel-powered vehicles. So completely breaking reversing the goal of the legislation. Like, the goal was to reduce CO2, account for the benefits to the environment that electric vehicles have financially with a tax credit, and instead give that to the fossil fuel vehicles because it's made in America, even though the requirement to get the tax credit on the electric one is also to be made in America. So makes no sense whatsoever. But do you think that would even pass? How many actual GOP representatives in Congress and Senate would actually vote for a tax credit for people to buy cars in the U.S.?
I mean, it depends on how the Senate and House do. I mean, not to go too political, but it sounds like Biden is having some issues, and then if Biden has issues, then that affects the down ballot. So, Trump could win, then also the House and Senate could go Republican, and if it's enough Republicans, then something like that could pass, nullifying the IRA Act, or they could kind of just sweep that under the rug. It's really if you're an EV advocate, it's a pretty clear who or which party is going to be on your side. Mm-hmm. Sadly, though, the Democrats seem to be in a weird, hey, Joe Biden is able to be president. No, he's not. Yeah, he is. And until that gets resolved, it looks like Trump's going to be a favorite to win.
Shoe-in even. I mean, we discussed a little bit before the show, but it does look like there's a chance that Biden would give up this weekend and be replaced. But even then, how much chance does the next person have? We don't know. And I mean, the majority. I think the majority of Democrats are admitting that they don't think Biden can win, and they don't want Biden to run. So
all the polls are 2/3 to 80% of Democrats think he should.
So I'm happy to hear that. At least it's clear that the real problem is the deep party, the people in charge of the Democratic Party. It's not the actual base of the party. People are still they have a head on their shoulders, and they know what they are seeing. It's pretty clear that the president is unfortunately senile, and it's basically elder abuse to keep have him run and keeping an insane schedule like that. move him aside and let someone younger to lead too. Like I don't know if you watched, probably didn't, probably good for you, good health. It's healthy not to watch the Trump speech yesterday, but he went an hour and a half. So I have to admit, going an hour and a half, like it's long. It's 30 minutes of talking nonstop. I get tired. So it's normal to like peak down. But by the end of that speech, that guy looked drenched, like completely out of it. He made starting maybe like 30 minutes into the speech, he started making no sense whatsoever to me. Like it's just not that he made a ton of sense before, but there was at least some coherence to what he was saying after that. I mean, at one point he was role playing as like a South American dictator, like sending their people to America, and like role playing as if like speaking as if they were him. I was like, what is that?
Yeah, it's
going
really
back
sad.
Yeah. Now going back to Elon, like it's hard to see because I still have vision in my head. Like I can see like Elon on stage in Paris in like 2016, I want to say, whatever, 2016, 2017, I think 2016, where he just laid out the plan to reduce CO2 emission around the world, and tell people exactly why it's important and all that. And to be fair, he's still talking about this a little bit. He's still talking about carbon tax and lowering carbon emission, but it seems like to be like a second thought to him. Is like he has other issues that are way more important to that. It's just that it's hard to support him for that, because if you do think that, it's hard to justify our voting for these people in particular. I mean, Trump, like, we don't have to go through the entire list, but I mean, the guy has been found liable of a rape by a jury of his peers. Right there and then, like, I think that would be enough for most people, but apparently not. Apparently not for Elon. That's good enough for Elon. He fully endorsed that guy. Not just, I know some people are voting for Trump because they don't want to vote for Biden, don't want to vote for a senile person. They don't want to vote for RFK Jr. for whatever reason. So they're like, oh, I'm going to vote for him. All right. But not Elon. Elon is fully endorsing this guy found liable of a rape. So different. And then he fully endorsed JD Vance that we just discussed, which would undoubtedly like hurt Tesla sales in the US. Tesla sales right now, even though it's a long term, it might be positive against other, if it does crush other EV companies, then it could eventually be positive for Tesla. But in the short term, Tesla's whole goal is to reduce the cost of buying its vehicles because they're too expensive. Tesla is slashing their interest rates to try to make them more affordable. Their leases cost and their prices, obviously, for the last 2 years have been dropping like crazy. And in the US, the $7,500 tax credit has been great for that. Now, I know that a lot of people are like, well, Fred, you're not mentioning that during the Trump era, Tesla sales have been going up like crazy. During the Trump era, Tesla moved to ramp up Model 3 and Model Y production. Like it's not because of Trump that these vehicles existed. They've been in planning for a long time. They just saw that it happens that the timing arrived during the Trump era. And those much cheaper electric vehicles boosted Tesla sales like crazy. It has nothing to do with Trump. And then the interest rates that followed the COVID mess that we were in, not because of Trump, but Trump was the president during the early COVID, as completely crashed the inflation and the interest rate that came after. Didn't help the sales of any vehicles, including Teslas. And that's the situation we're in now, where Tesla has to reduce the cost. And in the US, the tax credit is useful for that. So if you remove that, it will hurt Tesla sales, at least in the short term. And in the long term, if you do include $7,500 tax credit for gasoline vehicles, then you're screwed. Like this is obviously bad for Tesla. So yeah, that's where we are right now. And I find it fascinating, like to see Elon going from that speech in Paris to now just overlooking all of that, just so that just because he thinks that Trump would save us from the woke mind virus, I guess. Makes no sense to me, because he's using, I think he's being deceiving Elon in this whole thing. He's really disappointing me, like this whole California law thing that he's been using lately as an example, that he's going as far as saying the state is going to take your children. It's not true. I read the law. It's not the best law I've ever seen. Like, it has some holes for sure, but the intention behind the law is good. And at the end of the day, like, if you're a good parent, your kid is going to talk to you about this stuff. You don't need the school to reach out to you and tell you. And if it protects a kid that doesn't have a good home situation, and that kid doesn't want the parent to know what they're going through because they know it's going to be worse. You know, like if you have a parent, for example, that doesn't accept you as a trans person, you know, as ring a bell. First name can start with an E and last name start with an M. Maybe you don't want your parents to know about that because, you know, it's going to be a hell of a home situation. So the school is the only thing the law says is that the school cannot force out you to your parents. But if you're a good parent and your kids talk to you, you're going to be fine. This law doesn't change anything for you. Just change things for bad parenting, it looks like.
Yeah, and I think also it's more about moving Tesla to a low tax state, or sorry, moving his stuff, and he's just looking for an excuse. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, every time I bring that up, like the Tesla cultist says, Elon doesn't care about money. Like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that because, you know, one of, like, again, I keep asking him to lay down specifically why he endorsing Trump, and, you know, the California law has little to do with Trump. And but one of his tweets was like, he says the decision is clear, and he was retweeting a tweet from David Sachs, who just listed a bunch of billionaires that is backing Trump. You know, and to me, what I'm seeing is like Elon, a billionaire, is telling you that the choice is clear because a bunch of billionaires are backing a billionaire known to give tax cuts to billionaires. Like, how is that a reason for people to vote for him? Unless you are a billionaire and you're looking for more tax cuts. And to be fair, plenty of billionaires are also backing the Democrats. But you know, those are the billionaires that don't care about being taxed more. So good for them. All right, this week, Elon also confirmed the Robotaxi delay that was reported by the always lying mainstream media, aka Bloomberg. Said that last week that Tesla would delay the August 8th unveiling of the Robotaxi to October. And they said that they would build more prototypes. So Elon has confirmed the delay without confirming the new timeline. But, you know, if Bloomberg was right about the delay, I would assume they're right about the new timing in October too. He said that he requested what I think, quoting Musk here, is an important design change to the front, and extra times allow us to show off a few other things. Again, sounds like probably more prototypes, as Bloomberg reported. But again, I also said, like, this whole Robotaxi thing is like a lot of hypes around it, but it doesn't mean much until Tesla actually delivers on self-driving, which, you know, August or October. I don't think it makes a big of a change. The only thing that I could see as a positive there is if they do announce a geofence ride-hailing system with the Robotaxi, you know, and Elon kind of like defines the whole, okay, now we have the FSD approach with the existing consumer vehicles, and we have the geofence approach with the Robotaxi owned by Tesla, and we have a first service launch in Austin, for example. All right, now, you know, you could actually see, at least for the first time, see an actual path to a real system that works, even though that would create more liability for the consumer version of FSD because it could create doubts on that front. So it's like a weird balancing act that he has to do on that front. So we'll see about that. But apparently now it's going to be in October rather than August. There was also a report this week from the information. It's not opening up. Okay. It's about the 4680 cells, which, you know, I haven't been a resounding success for Tesla. First introduced in 2020. It's supposed to be like 100 gigawatts hour by this time, and it's not there anymore. It's just being used in this $100,000 Cybertruck. It was used in the Model Y for a while before the transition to the Cybertruck, but it's very limited use right now, and a lot of it because the cost is not there. Tesla itself admitted, though optimistically guided also, that the thing they're going to be at cost parity or below the supplier cost of other cells by the end of the year. Now the information says that the situation is a little bit more dire, where that Elon has told its team that they need to solve this problem at the end of the year. So the goal was cheaper, but they need to solve the problem to ramp up and achieve cost parity or cheaper than suppliers by the end of the year. Or it wasn't clear apparently, but 2 people interviewed by the information said that Musk might give up on skinning the cell completely if the issue is not fixed by the end of the year. Specifically, the issue is the dry coating technology that Tesla acquired from Maxwell that's supposed to, reduce the cost of the process of making the anode and cathode greatly, and the electrode, the whole cell really, and potentially also increase energy power and increase reliability. But the dry coating technique has worked on the anode, but has not worked on the cathode yet, which is cathode is I don't want to talk out of my ass here, but I know I think it's a majority of the cost of the battery, but if not, it's pretty close to that. So yeah, it has not worked on that process yet. So they need to fix that by the end of the year, or otherwise the 4680 might be dead. I think that might be a little bit too much. Like I think there's value. There's certainly less value now in the 4680 cell than there was in 2020 when it was first announced, because in 2020, there was a lot of rush from automakers, a lot of orders to suppliers, battery suppliers. Increased battery cost a lot, increased battery material cost a lot. Now with the interest rate and the slowdown, and a lot of automakers have bulked out of the EV space a little bit, that they are not making that big of orders, and the battery prices have come down because of that. So now Tesla has more opportunities to acquire cheaper cells, and the 4680 is not as much needed. However, I think this situation that we saw in 2020, where Tesla needed those cells, might easily come back in the future. Maybe not in the US if Trump is elected, but China is going crazy. Europe is still going crazy with EVs. Cells are going through the roof. So we might see a situation where battery suppliers are squeezed a little again. Prices go up, material prices go up. So it's good for, if that comes back, to have something to fall back on in your own production. So I would be sad to see Tesla completely giving up on that, because it might prove useful in the future to at least have a small team working on it, trying to solve these issues.
What's interesting is Rivian is also using the 46 series batteries. I think they're taller.
Yeah, they're
for
taller.
The R2 and probably R3. So Tesla's not the only game in town in the 46XX scene. It'll be interesting to see if how Rivian deals with the issues or perceived issues, or what happens exactly.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, next news. Oh yeah, I did some little calculation on the Supercharger network this week and found that the slowdown is already being felt since the charging team has been fired. So if you remember, Elon had a knee-jerk reaction earlier this year, fired the entire Tesla charging team responsible for building by far the biggest, baddest, best charging network in the world, all because the head of the team didn't want to fire as many people as Elon was asking her to. So he didn't only fire her, fired a 500-people team. Kind of a crazy move. And then this move is being felt now with, so I went on the Tesla Charge.info website and found that Tesla has deployed roughly 5,000 superchargers stalled so far in 2024. During the same period last year, Tesla was already at 6,200. So we're already 19% down year over year in deployment. And that's accounting for, it's only last quarter that this happened. And so we've been predicting that we're going to feel a bigger slowdown in the second half of the year, because Tesla already had a bunch of charging stations in the pipeline that were already designed, already permitted to a certain degree, at least, in the hands of contractors. So we've seen Tesla still deploy a lot of stations since the deployment, but a lot of those, if not all of them, were already in the pipeline. So now we expect a bigger slowdown as Tesla goes through those stations, and now as a much smaller team to build out the new ones, that we're going to see a bigger slowdown in the second half of the year. So something to keep an eye on, even though we already have a slowdown. And also, obviously, this coming at a very special time for Tesla, a very critical time for the network, because even though for the most part, we've been tracking the growth with the supercharger network with the growth of the Tesla cells, and they've been, Tesla cells have been growing faster than the supercharger network, so there's still room to catch up. So it's not going to happen. But the deliveries have been down this year, so it wouldn't make sense to slow down the supercharger network. But the supercharger network now is not just tracking Tesla cells; it's tracking all EV cells, because in Europe and in North America, Tesla is opening up the network to all other EVs. So there's going to be a lot more demand. Makes sense to keep growing the network and the capacity, but Tesla is, to be fair, still growing it, just not at the pace that it should need to catch up to the EV demand. It's a real bummer. All right, Tesla is giving out free hardware upgrades with self-driving to qualify for the tax credit. So this is a weird one. This is we talked a lot about Tesla's different incentive for people to buy, especially end of quarters incentives, to make sure that they hit the target for a quarter. This is a new one we haven't seen before. So for Model 3 Performance and Model X long range, if you buy the full self-driving package, you get free hardware options specifically for Model 3, any color. So that's up to a $2,000 discount. And for Model X, the 7-seat option becomes free. The goal behind that is, and I didn't even know this. This is new information for me. Apparently, my understanding from it is like the MSRP limit of $55,000 for a sedan, $80,000 for an SUV, to get access to the tax credit in the U.S., is the MSRP only accounts for the cost of the vehicle and the cost of hardware options. So paint, 7-seaters, that would be hardware option. It doesn't account for the cost of software upgrades, which the FSD package is. It's already included in the car. The hardware is already included in the car. It's only the software that is costs more. So if you pay for the $8,000 full self-driving package, it doesn't add up to the MSRP. And then if you do that, Tesla gets $8,000 for free, basically, because the hardware is already in there, and then they'll give you an incentive. So it's basically, you can see it as a discount on the hardware, but you can also see it as a discount on the FSD pricing, depending on how you approach this. And I see it more of a discount on the FSD pricing, because I don't think there's a lot of people that are like, I didn't want FSD, but at $8,000, but I wanted the paint color, so I would get FSD for $6,000 and the paint color for free. Basically, like it's not really how people work normally. Like if they do not want that $8,000, you're probably don't want it at $6,000. There's a few exceptions, obviously, but that's the way I see it. So it's more of a discount on FSD, basically. And for a guy like Elon that says that doesn't want any incentive, Tesla is working hard to make sure you get access to those incentives.
Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't seem like what he says is what the actions kind of imply.
Of the company.
Yeah. You think we're gonna get free supercharging back? I know they did free supercharging for a little while, but do you think? I think 3 months or something of free supercharging, but do you think they'll ever go back to unlimited free supercharging?
Unlimited, probably not, but like a few months, I wouldn't be surprised, or a few thousand kilometers, something like that. Personally, myself now, I'm like free supercharging for life now, because Tesla, I still have like 100,000 credits for referrals, and Tesla has basically removed like most things out of the what you can redeem
Referral store.
for.
Yeah,
with the referral store, like it's empty now. Like there's a charger in there, so I bought a charger. I probably should do some giveaways, like give away like chargers to people or something, and just buy them from my account and then give them away to people, because I'm not gonna I've been buying the supercharger miles, but they last like a few months. So I need to use them right away. So I need to buy them and then use them, and so I need to wait with that. So it's not ideal. But yeah,
I still want my 1,000,000 miles back from last time.
Yeah, those are gone from me too. So so that, I think that's what Tesla hopes, is just like people not gonna get them. All right, let's move on to. Oh, I already did that. Oh yeah, some good Tesla news this week. Tesla has secured an absurdly large, multi-billion-dollar Megapack contract, and that's with Intersect Power in California. So I'm not exaggerating. It's not an hyperbole when I say it's absurdly big. It's 15.3 gigawatt hour. So just for context, last quarter, we were blown away by Tesla deploying a record of 9.4 gigawatt hour, which was twice the last record. And now a single contract is more than the last record, almost twice as much than the last record. So it's just crazy. So Intersect Power is already a Tesla Megapack customers. They have 2.2 gigawatt hour of that's solar and 2.4 gigawatt hour of storage in operation and construction. So now they are adding that. So it's a big step up for them. But they already have 10 gigawatt hour of project in the pipeline. So they're just going to use the Megapack for those. And those are going to be deployed in the next 2 years. And the rest, the other 5.3 gigawatt hours, going to be deployed in the next 2 years after that. Everything is going to be deployed by the end of the decade, basically. So big new partnership for Tesla on the Megapack. So the Tesla Energy and specifically the Tesla Energy Storage and Megapack are silver lining for Tesla right now. It's the only thing that's really growing. Or unless I guess the Cybertruck is growing too, but that's not surprising. All right, we have 3 more news items we want to discuss today, everyone. It's already 46 minutes in. We talked a lot about politics. I apologize. But we are going to take your comments. There's already a lot of comments out there. So if you guys have like specific questions for us, you can put question, then the question there so that it's cleared for us to get to. But if not, we're going to get into the comments in just a few minutes. All right, let's talk about Lucid that just updated the Air Pure with the 2025 model year. And they have officially achieved 5 miles per kilowatt hour, making it the most efficient car in the world, obviously most efficient electric car in the world. But to be the more efficient car in the world, you need to be electric. So the new the Air Pure, the 410 miles, that's the current EPA of the Pure. I don't think they announced the new one, right? Okay, yeah, 420, no, 420. Elon's gonna love that one. So, Lucid, they do a lot of things right, technology-wise. Like you have to give them credit. Like it's cool. They do a lot with less when it comes to energy. So with that 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, they get 420 miles of range. So 5 miles per kilowatt hour, and a record MPGE, like miles per gallon equivalent, which is not a perfect measure, but it's the best we have if you want to compare it to gasoline cars and other EVs. Unfortunately, it's 146 miles per gallon equivalent. So that's pretty amazing, and that's the official AP rating, I think. So where's the estimate? Anyway, it's amazing either way. Now the Pure starts at $70,000. It's not cheap either, but it's a Model S competitor and whatnot. I'd be curious to look at the US sales now of Lucid versus the Model S. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Lucid starts to overtake the Model S, because we've seen the Model S sales crash. We reported on that last week. Model S and X, it's hard to separate the two from Tesla's reporting. And then you have the touring version, and then you have also the Grand Touring version, which, if you want to spend over $100,000 on a car, you get over 500 miles in it, and those are through 500 miles.
Yeah, but really, everybody should just be buying the Sapphire, which is the 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds version of that thing, which is insane. There's a couple Lucids at the Formula Sun event here. The Illinois team got Lucid to kind of sponsor them. They have a Lucid 10 and everything. One thing to think about, like, while that is the most efficient car in the world, it's also a big car. Like it's Model S or bigger sized. So it's impressive that they were able to do that with such a big car. Like, if it was like the Chevy Bolt or Tesla Model 3, that would be understandable. But the fact that it's a huge vehicle as well is even more impressive.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what Lucid can do if they do survive that long and they can release a second generation. Obviously, the Gravity is coming next, and that's going the wrong direction that you just mentioned because they're going bigger, but or at least SUV format. But I would like to see them like do their own, like what Rivian did, for example, and unveil the R2 and R3. I'm sure that if Lucid survives the next few years, that's going to be the path they're going to take, and I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do in terms of efficiency with smaller vehicles, because their efficiency is very much on the motor side of things, on the aerodynamic performance and everything, of course, but at the power electronics, they're also super efficient. So they're doing a lot of great technology stuff that I want to see happen. And Electrek, we love to see efficient vehicle, even within the EV world. Like obviously, most EV, if not all EVs, are more efficient than gasoline vehicles. But there's a lot of difference between the most efficient EVs and the least efficient EVs. I mean, we sponsored the Formula Sun for Christ's sake, which is also super efficiency. All right,
those cars are incredible. Just to put it into perspective, these cars have like 10 kilowatt hour batteries, which is pretty big battery pack, but they go like 300 miles on 10 kilowatt hours. So it's nuts.
Absolutely. We get a first look at the Silverado EV LT, which is the cheaper, more affordable version of the Silverado, because we did a review of the RST earlier this year, which is an insane truck packed with features, 200 kilowatt hour battery pack and everything, but it's not cheap either. This version is going to be a lot more accessible. And are we still on the RST? Okay, here. So this is the one that's going to start around $75,000 instead of $96,000. So much cheaper. Also, you get access to the tax credit at $75,000. It's $80,000, the MSRP limit. But okay, so the look a little bit different, obviously. So you have the RST here. You have the more toned down, more or less aggressive front end compared to the RST. Different lighting too. And then a little bit less loaded with tech in the fronts, but still a 17.7 infotainment system and 11.3 driver display and instrument cluster. The bed is 5 feet 11 inches. Oh, you do get the multi-flex tailgate on this, really?
Yeah, I mean, looks like it.
So only the work truck doesn't get the multi-flex tailgate.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think I'm confusing the multi-flex with the mid-gate. Sorry, they don't mention the mid-gate for the LT version.
Oh, so the back opens, that opens, but not the back window. Yeah, that makes more sense. That's a pretty big feature. Like that's expensive.
Yeah, that's the RST too, though. The extended range pack gets 400 miles of range, but what's the range on the base version? Oh, wait a minute. Price will be released closer to launch, but the LT is expected to start around 55 and 70. Now I'm confused because we also mentioned 75 here. Oh, no, that's the work truck EV. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this specific one's going to be 55 to 65, but that's the we don't have the range yet for the base version. So
I mean, it'll probably be around 300 miles since the other ones are 400.
All right, finally, we have some news from Aptera. We just talked a lot about solar cars, so it makes sense to talk about Aptera this week because they had an update, which is not a giant update, but still somewhat interesting. So a few weeks prior, they announced that US Capital Global is going to be a financing partner for them. But it wasn't clear how exactly. We've secured US Capital Global as a financing partner, but there was no financing announced. And now this week, they announced $60 million in convertible notes. But what they announced is just like the fundraising effort led by US Capital Global. So there's no one that we know that bought the convertible notes just yet. It's just like the notes are now being offered. So investors interested in it can buy up in the $60 million fundraising. So convertible notes, it's a loan. And the loan, has interest on it in a specific period to until you have to pay it back. And then when you have to pay it back, when the notes matured, you pay back with interest, or there's a convertible option where they convert to shares, and then you dilute the share base with that, which for a company in the stages that Aptera is now, which is moving to production, normally they're not profitable by the time those notes turn. So normally you can expect some dilution. It's not financial advice. It's just what I'm saying, that what my experience with these convertible notes normally are. So do expect some dilution. But the interesting thing is that we got a little bit more details about the plans for production, when or if they close this round. So if the capital raise closes this year at $60 million, they do plan to produce just a few vehicles for validation and testing, and then 10 to 15 production vehicles for sales. So maybe some sales by the end of the year with that 60 million. And then 2025, 2026, they're going to move to higher volume production to scale up to their 20,000 units. But that's going to require another $170 million. But they expect to be able to raise that through the ramp up of production with the 60 million, and then additional fundraising after that. Specifically an IPO, DOE funding, which I think they already secured some DOE funding, and international grants and loans. And then after that, 2026, they're going to further ramp up with more factories in other markets, and they expect another 220 million. Still a lot of money needed for Aptera to work, but to be honest, at least, like, even if it ends up costing like 50% more than this, it's not that expensive of a legal program to bring something like that to market. Now, to be fair, they're not cheap vehicles. There's also like the expected costs. You can check on the link. We have the full presentation here, but it's not going to be cheap. But I think it's a project that it's worth doing because of there's clearly a fascination for this from people. They do like this idea of having a vehicle that charges itself, charged from the sun, never have to buy fuel, never have to buy power for it. It's a cool idea. And then, of course, you can still plug it and everything, like discussed at the end. They're not as efficient as the crazy vehicles that the students are doing, but they are much more utilitarian than those vehicles. So you have to find a balance between the two. And I think that Aptera's found a good balance with this, because you have 2-passenger, a somewhat decent cargo capacity for the size, and most of the car, drive on the highway. When you drive in traffic on the highway, look around you, look at the people in the vehicles. Most of the time, it's just one person in a full big car, SUVs and all that. So at least, like, most family is going to need a second car if they have that. But sometimes you have a family, and then one of the car is always just used for one of the parents to drive back and forth to work. Now they could do that and never have to pay for electricity again. There's something very appealing to that, and I think a lot of people will go on board with that. So even though I don't claim to think that this is going to be like a very long-term, like, grand success, I think it's an area of the market worth exploring and see where it goes.
It's fair.
All right, let's jump into the comment section.
All right.
We have a lot of comments today.
All right, Carl in San Diego. Is it 2020 or 2024? We've got 2 old white men running for president, and neither of them are willing to regulate on climate the way we need them to. Emissions are rising, and everyone is trying. It is kind of weird, this same election, but everybody's older and crazier. To tell us hybrids might be more viable than BEVs, trying to tell us, okay. And then, but one is much worse than the other. Agreed. So, there is some nuance to the whole, plug-in hybrids versus BEVs. Obviously, if there's an unlimited battery supply, everybody should try to have BEVs, clearly. But battery supply is limited, and if every car was a plug-in hybrid, and a lot less gasoline would be burned if you kind of distributed those batteries over a wider variety of cars. I think personally that we can ramp up battery in the near enough future that we can go fully BEV, and the plug-in hybrids are kind of like, maybe for a few more years they make sense, but I think, we'll get there. Anything to add to that, Fred?
No, it makes sense. I think recycling of the batteries, big part of it. I don't think there's no room for hybrids, but they do feel like a traditional technology.
Yeah. So we talked about, is Elon playing three-dimensional chess, or has he lost his mind supporting Trump, who is anti-EV? We talked quite a bit about that.
You know what's good about that though? The three-dimensional. Well, is it three-dimensional or four-dimensional chess? Is the real hard one. A lot of it proved a lot of people that they are cultists, because I heard a lot of people say things like that, like, don't worry about Elon is just playing four-dimensional chess with this move. And then you ask them, like, okay, what do you think is the move? What do you think is like, what's the angle? And then they're like, I don't know, but he's Elon. He's going to figure it out. So you're basically admitting that it's just fate. You have faith in the guy. You think he's like a super genius that's going to figure everything out. So it is a cult. It is, deity level faith that they have in this guy. And they're willingly admitting, like, I don't know what he's doing, but, it's him. So it must be good, even though all of my instinct is telling me this is a billionaire trying to get tax cuts. And
he's trying to get more political sway, I guess.
Mr. Turkey to get power.
More power. Yep. Mr. Turkey next says we might be considered biased to begin with, but I think most followers of Electrek assume that the shift to electric propulsion will happen inevitably. It's just who gets dragged kicking and screaming. That is kind of our take, I think. I wish everyone got as much exposure to sun racers as they do about the Olympics, dumb reality shows, or football, basketball, baseball. I was talking with the board members of the Formula Sun stuff, and we were thinking about ESPNU might be a good venue for that, to televise these things and make it kind of more of a story. Because what could be better? Because auto racing is kind of it is a sport, and also you got the engineering teams working on these things, so it's kind of like more of a college sport than even college sports. And theoretically, colleges are getting the reputation of being like a football program with a college attached, or trust fund with a college attached. This would actually say, hey, these kids are learning and creating cool stuff. So I think it's a good program. We're going to try to work on the marketing there. Carl in San Diego, Elon never had the common sense people think he had. Yeah, that seems true. Mike the Car Geek. Oh, yeah. So I met Mike the Car Geek. He was here. Old people like me like to complain about kids today. These future stars slept in tents on site, and it was hot, and then it was raining. Worked late in the evening and helped other teams. Bravo, Electrek, for sponsoring this. Yep. Feels great to do this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's funny because these guys that are sleeping in tents, and, as soon as they graduate, they're going to have like $200,000 jobs at, Tesla. So it's funny. Elon is a billionaire whose interest would readily be uncovered. Tax breaks motivated his move from California to Texas. His excuses now are disingenuous at best. It sounds pretty true. And of course, pleasure to meet you too, Mike. Elon says he's not funding the campaign via tweet. Oh yeah, we talked about this. Jamie says social media brain rot is how their politics align. That's sadly kind of true. And then Jamie continued. He said that that's not the amount he's contributed yet, but it's only 3 days in, so he didn't deny anything really. He just the check hasn't cleared. We're finding that all of Elon's denials are on technicalities usually, so hard to trust. Let's move on. Have you heard anything about the build quality or any issues with the updated R1S? I have not. How about you?
To be completely fair, I've heard of one example. So we don't generally report on a specific example unless it's like completely awful. So I've heard one example of a bad delivery. But that's it. So nothing really consistent.
Yep. I'm having trouble with my charge port automatic opener. Rivian tried to be really fancy with theirs, and of course mine has a thing that stops in the middle, and it's a faulty part. And man, it's just like EV companies just make, like, we figured out the gas cap thing. Just it's a door, open, close. Don't try to be fancy. It's annoying. All right.
It's electric. It has to be fancy.
Yeah, it's gotta be fancy. All right, Carl, Elon isn't a critical thinker. He's a con man, megalomaniac. All right, he doesn't. Yeah, okay. Elon comments are fake bravado, saying that no EV incentives are good for Tesla. Elon wants and government interference in labor, lower billionaire taxes, sexual harassment, and oversight of AI. Those things all sound true. I call it the global EV mission instead of Tesla's mission. Now that Elon is being weird.
I mean, they both exist, but officially Tesla's mission is that, and they were, as far as I know, the first company to have this mission, and probably the only major company to have this mission and to have a great impact on that mission. So I guess, you can call me naive, you can call me like whatever. At one point, when I saw, since 2019 or something, I've been, being more critical of Elon and have issues with Elon and everything. And I had hope at first that Elon would, see his problem that he has with social media rotting his brain and all that, and start turning back into the mission and be a positive for the mission. I've lost hope of that. He's like a meth addict that bought the meth lab at this point. Like he bought Twitter. There's no coming back from social media addiction when you own social media. So I've given up on that. Yeah. But now my other hope, which was crushed by the shareholder meeting earlier this year, but now is coming back in the last few days, because I've seen a lot of occultists starting. Not the main one. Like forget on Omar, Gail, Eva, all that. So that's all gone. Like their brain melted. They offloaded their critical thinking to Elon Musk. Like now it's some contracted to him and like do it for free. It's nice. But there are a lot of people that are turning. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these people are selling their Tesla stocks right now. So it's not, they're not up to it. But I think there's a few, and maybe with time, we could see Elon out of the equation and Tesla still pushing that mission without it. Again, I know you can call me naive for that. It would be completely fair.
Yeah, it would be nice if Elon just threw JB the keys and he went on to just focus on Twitter or whatever he does.
Yeah, Twitter, XAI, politics.
Yeah. We should not believe Elon actually wants all EV companies to succeed. His action and rhetoric show that he always disrespected the competitors. The mission is performative.
Not always. He's been, he helped. I think opening NACS was a good move. Help people, help the whole industry. I don't know how much he had to do with that, obviously, but maybe it was the charging team that got fired that was behind that. I don't know, maybe. I mean, nowadays, like Lucid, for example, like keep claiming that Peter Walston basically had nothing to do with the MLS when his name was on half of the patents on the MLS. Like, come on, dude, like just grow up a bit.
All right, we're gonna kind of burn through a lot of these because
we have a lot of them today.
There's a lot. A biggest factory in Texas, so he's going full red MAGA. Yeah, I guess living in Texas, living on Twitter, it's just gonna melt your brain, and also having a circle of sycophants around you telling you that you're amazing.
Yeah, to be fair, I think it's more the social media than Texas, but it's the thing where like he's welcome in Texas. It's like they're welcome, so he sees all these. I have my team there and everything, but yeah.
All right, didn't he quit Trump's economic business team when Trump was elected? No, he would quit it after he dropped out of Paris.
Agreement, yeah.
Opportunists will opportune. No more. So Richard Cool is out. It's always interesting to see when the Tesla folks are out. I still have my Model Y. I drove it here. It's just charging network is going to be better than my Bolt obviously can handle, and my Rivian just isn't a great long travel car. It's bigger. It's more for other stuff. So I probably should have tried the Rivian because I have the adapter, but.
Model Y is smoother. If you're gonna drive for a long period of time, Model Y is smoother to drive. The R1S is not a bad car, especially the new version of it, but it's not like it's not the smoothest ride.
Right, and then also I did want to try out the new FSD, which is fine. I mean, I got an update while I was at the hotel, and I drove it on it yesterday. And it seems fine, but it kicked me off. It told me I was not paying attention enough, which probably is right. But anyway, let's keep moving. Let's see. Tesla could lose relevance very quickly. AI is a bad fad and not profitable. That remains to be seen. True autonomous driving isn't viable for years. That's probably true. Humanoid robots are delusional distraction. Yeah, all remains to be seen, I think.
Yeah, I've seen that argument from some of the Tesla fans, like justifying the backing Elon is like they're literally one of their argument is like the EV cells don't even matter anymore because AI, self-driving, and robots are going to be everything. And it's like we've heard that for a while now, and like if that happens, I mean, like now you have a year to get it, and then you're screwed. And I don't see that happening within a year.
Yeah, the whole Jamie says the whole I don't want any incentives immediately releases NACS white paper. He says money only goes to chargers that support multiple brands. It's a good example of Elon or Tesla.
Yeah, Elon
taking
says
advantage.
something, and then Tesla doesn't necessarily does that thing. Like it's
right. I wonder. I truly wonder though if how involved he was in the decision for NACS. I mean, of course he had to know, but like I wonder how much he was involved with that. They probably pushed the folks there were probably like, look, this is good for everybody. You know, I don't know. Edmunds tests don't actually reflect Lucid's efficiency dominance. Glad they are trying hard, but we shouldn't put that much weight on their efficiency claims.
I mean, there's ways to game APA to a degree, not too much, but like, does Lucid game the system more than Tesla does? Like, I don't think so, because Tesla was forced to change their numbers earlier this year or last year. Like, I don't remember anymore. I haven't seen that from Lucid yet.
All right. Question: could you share your thoughts on and cover more emerging EV companies like Gogoro, which we do a lot? Micah does. X-Row Technologies, Vision Marine Technologies, and how they compare to the bigger names in the industry. Gogoro is a scooter battery company. Vision Marine sounds like a boating thing. You might want to check the other podcast. I do with Mike.
We reported on Vision Marine quite a bit. Like their speedboat got the record and everything. We reported on that. We have a scooter on this that's reported a bit. I reported on them a little bit too.
Okay.
They have an outboard motor. It's still a little bit expensive, their stuff, I feel like, but it's gonna get there at some point. I don't know X-Row Technologies though, to be fair.
All right, we have a Twitter comment. Hello, based comrades. All right. We enjoyed watching Netflix F1. Yeah, so car racing for me never was a big thing, but round in circles. But I really enjoy watching these solar guys because there's so many interesting things about it. And also I think the Formula E stuff they've done some really cool stuff, and Jamie covers that. So if you're kind of on the fence about car racing, Formula E, and these
maybe Netflix would be they had such a success with their F1 documentary. We should do a documentary on the Electrek Formula Sun.
That would be so cool. Net zero is unachievable and unnecessary. All right, Keith Gerard. EV batteries have reached the peak of chemical energy density and are not the future. Top tech companies know this, but say nothing. All right, we got my uncle from Facebook.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but what I'm seeing the energy density increasing every year. I think some chemistries have achieved their peak, but there's always new chemistries coming all the time. They just need to be stabilized for longevity and then volume and cost. Not an easy thing to do. So, of course, the existing technology that has scaled already, that has proven on the cost side and longevity, as the biggest part of the market, and that's LFP, that NCE, that NCM. But we have other solid state is coming. I think like I've seen some great improvements lately. I think QuantumScape has done some great stuff. I think Solid Power has some great stuff. These guys are gonna get into commercial products very soon. Mark my words.
All right, I think that's it from the comment section.
We have Jamie also in. Jamie is, I know he's never going to do it, but he needs to be on Twitter. He needs to be on Twitter, Jamie. He'll do. I stole some of his tweet with his permission. Sometimes I stole his tweet with his permission all the time, and they do always great. He should be on Twitter. All right, that's it, everyone. That's it, everyone. I hope you had an interesting time with us today. We enjoyed your questions a lot. We enjoyed your comments. If you do enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, all that stuff. Free to do. Takes a second. Help the show more than you think, and guarantee it. If you're listening on your podcast app right now, if you can give us a 5-star rating, we'd appreciate it a lot. Especially now we went into the political side of things, even though, like we said, we're not political. Other than when it comes to EVs, I'm sure we're going to get trashed into the reviews by Trumpers and Elon cultists and all that. So if people that are more reasonable, if you could please push the show forward, and the counter is these attacks that we get from the cult, I would be appreciated. All right. Have a good one. We'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye.